This is Candidate Conversations on the WIDU Radio Network. I'm your host, Jay Reinstein, and today I have with me Mario Benavente, former city council member running for county commissioner at large. Welcome to Candidate Conversations, Mario.
Thank you so much, Jay. Glad to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you. So let's begin. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing Cumberland County right now, and what specific role should a county commissioner play in addressing a specific issue?
Certainly. So the biggest thing that drew me to being a county commissioner really sometimes comes from the criticism I'd sometimes get during my 4 years on city council, when a lot of the initiatives, when it came to public safety, when it came to health and human services, when it came to social services that I wanted to see the city get involved with, people said, Mario, you should be over at the county working on all these things. These are things that fit perfectly in line with the services that the county is supposed to be providing. Why don't you go take a look over there and see what you can do for them? And certainly, with that kind of encouragement, whether they meant it or not, has me, in this position to look for this board seat at large. And I'm an attorney, Jay, and I work at Cumberland County Courthouse every single morning. When I leave out of here, I've got to rush and make sure I don't get in trouble with any of our judges. But they understand that I'm working to bring some improvements to not just the edifice. We know that the parking lot, needs some work out front.
Yes.
We know that and this is the courts that I operate in, the Partner Social Services Court, Juvenile Court, a lot of the investments that need to be made, not just in the building there, but into people that are coming in and out of that courtroom, can really start with the Cumberland County Commissioners and where they choose to invest so that we can ensure the futures of our young people and their families.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, talking to Mario Benavente, running for county commissioner at large. Cumberland County is growing and changing. How do we balance economic development with protecting neighborhoods, infrastructure, and quality of life?
The biggest thing is to include the people. I can't imagine a project that doesn't require as much feedback as possible from everyday citizens. And it's not enough, I think, to put out the notice and hope that people show up. We've got to meet people where they're at. There's oftentimes I see government sort of check the box, do the bare minimum at the last minute to notice community members, and they find out well into the process that any sort of concerns that they had technically can't be addressed at this point. We're already several months in, several hearings in, and they're just now hearing about it. So one of the expectations I've created in my 4 years on city council, and I plan to bring to my time as a county commissioner, is I've attended every single community watch meeting, not just in my district at the time, but when I was running for the mayor's seat, I was going to every single community watch in the entire city since January of last year, and I've continued that up until this point as we're letting folks know about our county run. And I can tell you there's so much information that even the most plugged in people, the ones who are coming every evening, or not every evening, but every month to their community watch meetings, these folks are no slouches. They're reading, they're paying attention, and even they sometimes will miss some very vital information about a new 7-Eleven that's getting ready to be put up in the neighborhood, that a new development is coming that they have some concerns about. And one thing I learned just in my time, again, as an attorney and working with a lot of people across the state, I'm going to go ahead and name drop him, former state Supreme Court Justice Jim Ervin. I worked with him on a few projects, and one of the things he taught me, and you can imagine this gentleman has been a
His
judge
grandfather
for decades.
is Sam Ervin.
Yes.
Who is, right, I know that.
And he shared with me, sometimes, Mario, it wasn't always the sentence that I ended up delivering upon somebody that, made someone upset or made somebody feel any kind of way. It was whether or not they got heard. People want to be heard, and it makes all the difference in the world, even if they have to get potentially bad news. That as long as they feel that there was a fair process and they had an opportunity to make their statement and they got a chance to be heard, that really is the difference maker, again, in delivering good, sometimes even bad news. So I think about him, again, it sounds obvious, but coming from somebody with that much experience, it just kind of hits a little bit deeper. And I think about that when it comes to development. We know that sometimes those priorities of what is going to be an economic driver, sometimes people won't see the vision immediately.
Right.
Once it comes, they're like, okay, it has worked out. It brought more jobs. It brought more eyes to Cumberland County. It brought more people to this area and got the economic engines going. But did you give everyone who maybe sees the benefit now, they might still have a little heartburn because they didn't feel like they had their opportunity to be heard. So I'm always welcoming of making sure that community members have an opportunity to have their say.
Great, thank you, thank you. Property taxes and county spending matter a lot to residents. How do you decide when to raise taxes as a county commissioner?
Well, I think the biggest question mark around that issue came from the property values having risen so high this last evaluation or revaluation, I should say. And one of the biggest lessons I think we learned is probably not waiting 8 years, which is statutorily the maximum amount of time that you can wait before we do such a reevaluation. Right. But it kind of hits you like a freight truck if you kind of wait that long, and a lot of sort of economic sort of change over that time. And I think it would really behoove the county in the future to not wait until that full maximum 8 years. You start to do it every 4 years potentially. You give people an opportunity to adjust, and you make less of a shock to the system when it comes to the properties changing. And obviously this time around, I think it was very different. Between what happened with COVID, what happened with sort of national economics. This was a very unique year. I don't anticipate there to be any sort of big changes. I'll just end with saying that while I was on city council, I was the only one to vote against the raising of taxes to being still 6 cents above revenue neutral. This was a year that we should have, as a city, brought taxes down to something that people can manage in the short term because it was such a shock to the system. And I'm proud to say that my commitment there would carry over to being on the county board, because I'm sure you've heard county taxes are less expensive than city taxes nowadays.
Absolutely. They decreased.
They did.
They decreased. Let's switch here. Public safety, which includes law enforcement, emergency services, and community trust. What does the county commission do well here, and where do they need to improve?
Certainly. Well, I believe that the county board has done a good job in recognizing something that I talked about all the time on city council, that we cannot have a one-dimensional approach, that public safety is more than just law enforcement, that we've got to be talking about what are these root causes that are leading people to antisocial behavior that we call crime. And a lot of it is rooted in poverty. A lot of it is rooted in lack of access to health care. A lot of it is rooted in people just being insecure in their housing or job situation. Right. And so they're more susceptible to being victims of crime as much as they are in perpetrating it. So this is where we started the Office of Community Safety in the city of Fayetteville, a concept where we said, when you call 911, there's an issue here. Maybe someone hasn't been hurt just yet. Maybe a law hasn't been broken just yet, but clearly there's something going on here. Right. Can we get the right person, the right government official to come and help with the situation, whether that's a licensed clinical social worker, whether that's a peer support specialist, whether that's an EMS person. I think that the county, having seen that effort and that sort of spotlight that when I was on city council I was able to shine, I've now heard the county commissioners talking about, hey, as we're talking about a new 911 call center, we want to make sure that we are embedding a person who can triage these calls and make sure it's going to the right department, whether that is the sheriff's office, whether that's FPD, whether it's otherwise. We really want to make sure we're having a comprehensive approach to public safety, because we'll never arrest our way out of issues that are truly rooted in people needing help and access to services. That's something that what got me involved in politics, period. So I'm looking forward to this opportunity to being able to support our DSS and our DHS workers.
Great. And it's really a way to de-escalate.
Always.
It is. That's one of the major focuses of that new division or department.
That's exactly right. We're trying to address issues before they escalate to the point of being law enforcement matters. And I think that applies not just in public, but also in our schools. Yeah. One of the biggest concerns I had when our sheriff's department was not able to continue providing services as school resource officers, and Fayetteville Police were going to be stepping in. I asked, at the time as a city councilman, our school board, our county commissioners, my fellow city council members, are we also meeting national minimum standards when it comes to the student ratio to school nurses, the student ratio to school social workers? Right. When we had ARPA money coming in, there are several high schools that were able to afford a school social worker for their school. And when that money ran out, they also lost those contracts to those services. And those are the kinds of things that if the school board is not asking for, I've got to make clear as a county commissioner that my expectation is when you're submitting a budget, it includes minimum nationally recognized standards for the student to school social work ratio or student to school nurse ratio. And in many of our schools, it's just one. We're not asking for a lot of folks, but we need to make sure that young people are getting the access to the help that they need, so they're not just waiting until problems, ignoring the red flags, and then they end up sort of having to deal with the experience that is juvenile court. And as an attorney who works in that court, it's harrowing. It's really, really disappointing to see so many young people coming out in handcuffs and leg shackles for issues that ultimately the judge will determine that this young person just needs to have mandatory mentoring services, mandatory tutoring services. We need to help their family be able to make ends meet. Well, why couldn't we provide all of those things before this young person got in trouble? Because it's not like we didn't see 100 red flags up until this point. But until we make the necessary investments in young people's futures, we're going to continue this sort of revolving door issue before it gets better.
Yeah, thank you. Again, talking to Mario Benavente, running for County Commission at large. Why should people vote for Mario Benavente on March 3rd during the primary?
I'm really hoping for the support of all the citizens here in the city of Fayetteville, all the citizens in the city of Spring Lake, Hope Mills, Wade, Godwin, Falcon. We really need all the support of this at-large position, because y'all can see from the past 4 years that I was on city council, we get things done. I was sharing with Jay earlier that some older council members would say, well, you can't do much in your first term. You won't be able to do much in your second term. Maybe when you come back for the third or fourth, you can start to get some initiatives going. And I took that as a challenge. We've got the Office of Community Safety where that did not exist before, and we're proud of that. We made a lot of headway on issues related to transit. And when I talk about issues with folks in Hope Mills, that's one of the biggest things that they're saying that they need. When I talk with folks in Spring Lake and they're saying we have over $80 million in water infrastructure improvements necessary, that to me is a challenge that I'm ready to meet. So when folks decide to support, and you can always pick two, right? When you go into the county commissioner's booth for the at-large, I hope to be your number one. If not, I'll be your number two. I want to serve as your next county commissioner at large because I know I can get the job done.
Great, thank you. Again, Mario Benavente running for county commissioner at large. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Come on, bring me back, Jay. I'm here to say a lot more.
There you go. All right, you've been listening to Canada Conversations on the WID